In today's manufacturing world, everything is measured in minutes, sometimes even seconds. So today, we're going to dive into a tool that's moving from the back office right to the heart of the operation, real-time time tracking. And look, this isn't just about when people clock in and out. It's about having a live pulse on the entire factory floor. To really get why this is a total game changer, we have to start with a pretty fundamental question.
So, how does a factory lose an hour of productivity? It's such a great question because the answer is almost never what you'd think. It's not usually some big dramatic event like a line crash or a power outage. The reality? It's way more subtle and a lot harder to spot.
And yeah, this quote right here, it just hits the nail on the head. It's not one big thing. It's the 10 operators who wander in 3 minutes late. It's the 2 temp workers waiting at the wrong gate. It's that one machine sitting idle just a little too long during a handover. See, each one is just a few lost minutes, but you add them all up, and they create this silent, relentless drain on your efficiency.
Okay, so that brings us perfectly to our first section, the invisible drain. We're going to break down exactly why the old ways of tracking time just can't keep up with the speed and complexity of modern manufacturing. Now, what's kind of wild about this slide is just how familiar these things probably are. Handwritten sheets? Ugh. Separate spreadsheets for overtime? Another headache. Payroll software that doesn't talk to the access control system? So what happens? Each tool creates its own little version of the truth. And instead of actually managing the operation, your supervisors are stuck playing detective at the end of the week, just trying to piece together what really happened. And wow, this slide just lays out the cost perfectly. With these traditional methods, you're basically operating with blind spots, which of course leads to errors and gaps. You're always reacting to problems that happened hours or even days ago. But with a modern system, boom, those blind spots become full visibility. Reconciliation isn't a chore, it's an operational advantage, and you move from reaction to actual control. It's all about shifting from rearview mirror management to looking right out the front windshield. All right, let's keep building on this. We're moving from the problem to the solution here in our next section, making time visible, and really understanding the power of what's called a real-time control layer. Okay, this right here, this is the big idea. Real-time visibility is not just another report. It's described here as a control layer. It's about being able to ask a question like, hey, is line 3 fully staffed right now? And getting an immediate, accurate answer that you can actually do something with. Let's make this super concrete with a high-stakes example. Picture this. A safety incident happens on the floor. The old way? It's chaos. You're grabbing clipboards, trying to do a head count. With a real-time system, the EHS lead pulls up a screen and instantly knows who is on site and exactly which zone they're in. This isn't about efficiency anymore. We're talking safety, accountability, and compliance in the moments when every single second counts. So what's actually in a system that gives you this kind of visibility? What does the modern toolkit look like? In this section, we'll get into the specific features that make all this possible. Well, the tech is really designed for the reality of the factory floor. You've got live dashboards that give managers an at-a-glance view of what's important, like headcount or overtime risk. The check-in methods, kiosks, RFID, they have to be fast and tough. And smart alerts are huge. They proactively warn a supervisor about a staffing gap before it hurts production. The secret sauce, though, the real magic, is integration, making sure this data flows seamlessly into the ERP, MES, and HR systems you're already using. And this right here is the core design philosophy. For an operator, checking in has to be dead simple. It should take seconds, no friction. But in the background, that one simple action is feeding this incredibly powerful data engine that gives managers all the insights they need. It really is the best of both worlds. So having all this data is one thing, but what do you do with it? How do you actually turn it into real business value? Let's jump into our fourth section, which is all about connecting that visibility to tangible results. I love this table because it puts everything side by side so clearly. Take unplanned overtime. The old way, you might not even realize you have a problem until you're looking at the payroll report on Friday, and by then, the money's already spent. With a modern system, a manager gets a real-time alert on their phone when a team is about to hit its overtime limit, giving them time to actually do something about it. Same thing for staffing gaps, billing disputes, you name it. You move from slow, painful discovery to immediate insight. So where do manufacturers see the biggest wins from all this? As you can see from the chart, the number one area by a long shot is resource planning. And that makes total sense, right? With accurate live data, you can finally match your staffing to your production demand perfectly, move people where they're needed most, and slash all those hidden costs from wasted time. After that, you see huge gains in payroll accuracy, compliance, and just responding way faster to disruptions. And that brings us to our final and maybe most crucial point. We have to stop thinking about time tracking as some boring administrative task. We need to start seeing it for what it is, a foundational piece of the modern connected factory. Here's the bottom line. This isn't an HR function anymore. This is a production function. Manufacturing runs on a rhythm, shift starts, changeovers, maintenance windows. When your time tracking is plugged right into the core of your operations, it stops being about just paying people correctly and starts being about protecting that rhythm and optimizing production itself. And this is where things get really, really powerful. When you can connect time data to your key production metrics, you can finally start answering those much deeper, more valuable questions. You can see why productivity suddenly dipped on shift B. You can find out if your changeovers are consistently running long. You can figure out which staffing patterns actually lead to the highest output. This is how you go from just tracking time to truly optimizing it for performance. So we'll end with this thought. Every single factory is losing minutes to those small, invisible blind spots. That's a given. The real question isn't if it's happening, but where it's happening. And the most important question for you is, can you see them?